Hello. How do you view the role of social media in science communication?
So Jenny, the role of social media.
I think it's a really interesting question, both as a concept, but actually that you said sort of science communication rather than public engagement. I think in the last 10 years, social media has become very much part and parcel of a lot of people's lives, and if you're part of that bubble, it's very easy to think that if you communicate in that way, you are reaching everybody, and I think we need to be cautious and remember that while it might seem that the world and its wife and its dog is on social media, not everyone actually is, so we need to be very mindful of who we're reaching. I think there's massive potential in the future. I'm certainly not a technologist, so my imagining of what social media will evolve into is pedestrian at best, but the leaps and bounds that we've seen in technology in recent years will continue, and I think we can only just begin to imagine the potential of future engaging and communication interactions through social media. At the moment, I think it still has huge potential. I think it needs to be handled a little bit with caution. I think, as we've seen ourselves with the public competition to name a research vessel, Boaty McBoatface sort of captured the public imagination in ways that we couldn't have even begun to dream about. So there's that sort of, you can put something out there and you can never really know in what direction it's going to go. So I think there's something about, be it researchers who wish to communicate or engage through social media, having the training and support and as much as possible an awareness of what might happen around that. I think we also need to be aware of its limitations, but I think the potential in future for actually turning that communication mechanism into an actual route for genuine two-way engagement, potentially even as a mechanism for undertaking research. And the obvious example is we sort of sit here now, something around sort of citizen science, where huge numbers of the public can be observing certain facts, feeding that into data and actually sort of genuinely contributing to the research base. So I think there's all sorts of exciting potential there, but a slight note of caution would be around that, remembering that not everyone is out there, and a bit like my previous question, that there are those social media bubbles, and that the world you see through those bubbles can be very different to other people's perceptions and the bubbles that they're sort of being filtered through. But also, as I say, like every other type of engagement, we should encourage people to be really clear about what they're trying to do with it, what their expectations are, what success will look like both for them and the people that they're trying to reach, and to support researchers to undertake that as meaningfully as possible.
Thanks, Jenny. Would you like to add anything to that, Beth?
Yeah, so I do agree with what Jen has said. I think I'm a member of the public and I'm also a scientist, so I'm an end user of science communication online, and I think that for me it's actually really useful. I think you see a lot of headlines and paper suggestions on, say, Twitter, and lots of different events and workshops and things are happening, and it makes a huge dissemination of information to the scientific community, which, whether or not that's classed as public outreach, and I'm not entirely sure, but it's definitely a platform that can be accessible to anyone that's interested, and there's a lot of pages on Twitter and Facebook that they're promoting sort of top-level science and headlines to actually engage and make things easier for non-scientists to understand, or different disciplines to understand. And I find that very useful, working in the interdisciplinary environment that we work in, that actually you can then access lots of different topics very, very easily. And you know, it's easy to share these with your friends and family, and I have friends that share links with me that think that I might be interested because they know I work in science, and likewise I can say, oh, did you see this? This is related to what we're doing, here's the link. And actually the sharing element actually means that it's very easy to disseminate a lot of information that, if you know the context, it can be very useful as well.